There is a weariness that doesn't come from doing too much, but from holding too much. Not tasks, not hours worked, but silent burdens, the kind that live in the background of your mind, whispering the pressure to reply, to perform, to please, to always be on. It's the tension behind your eyes at midnight, the tightness in your chest when the day begins before you do. It's not fatigue of the body, it's erosion of the soul. And the most dangerous part, it feels normal. This quiet unraveling is the cost of living on autopilot. A slow leak in the vessel of your presence. You move, but you're not fully here. You speak, but your voice feels borrowed. Somewhere along the line, the noise became louder than your inner voice. Marcus Aurelius warned us long ago. If you seek tranquility, do less or do only what is essential and do it with intention. He wasn't encouraging laziness, he was inviting clarity. Today, we will uncover 9 seemingly innocent habits that quietly drain your power. Habits that left unexamined build invisible walls around your potential. If lately you felt like something's off, even if you can't name it, this might be why. Let's begin. There are days when life doesn't feel like a path. It feels like a treadmill, set to sprint, and you're already breathless before your feet hit the floor. You wake not to clarity, but to chaos. Before your eyes adjust to daylight, the noise begins buzzing phones, half-read headlines, someone needing something now. And without thinking, you're swept into motion, not because you've chosen it, but because it pulled you. It's easy to confuse movement with progress, to think a full calendar means a full life. But running isn't the same as arriving, and reactivity isn't the same as awareness. The Stoics knew this all too well. Marcus Aurelius described an unshakable part within us, the inner citadel, a fortress of calm built not from escape, but from presence. It doesn't bend with opinion. It doesn't fall with misfortune. It waits for you always in stillness. And yet, how often do we abandon it? Every time we react without pause, rush without purpose, or let the world dictate our rhythm, we walk further from that fortress. You don't need to push harder. You need to pause. Sometimes, the strongest move is not acceleration, but alignment. Life isn't asking you to do more. It's asking you to return to the center, to yourself. Your mind is not a stage, it's a sanctuary. Yet every day, it's treated like a marketplace. Open all hours, noisy, crowded. Notifications arrive not as requests, but invasions. Each one pulling a thread from your attention until your thoughts are no longer your own. They're fragments, scattered like leaves in the wind. Modern life doesn't simply distract, it divides. And when your attention is divided, so is your presence, your ability to be here fully. You start living on the surface, reacting to ripples, instead of touching the depths of your own clarity. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." But how can we look inward when our gaze is constantly pulled outward? The Stoics offer a quiet resistance to reclaim our focus is to reclaim ourselves. Marcus Aurelius urged us to guard our minds like a fortress, not because the world is evil, but because it's noisy, loud with demands, heavy with urgency. Imagine your mind as a still lake. Every alert, every headline, every drama tossed your way is a stone hitting the surface. But here's the truth. The water only stays turbulent if you keep reacting. Let it settle. Beneath the splash, there is stillness, and that stillness is you. Plato taught that the soul is not a single force, but a chariot drawn by three: reason, spirit, and desire. When reason leads, the chariot moves with direction. But when desire seizes the reins, or when spirit lashes out in blind defense, we crash into the world and call it fate. Emotional reactivity is one of the most subtle thieves of peace. It doesn't arrive as a storm. It hides in the flicker of a fence, the heat of a quick reply, the tightness in your jaw when someone crosses a line. You don't notice it at first. It feels like you. But it's not. It's a habit repetition without reflection. True power doesn't explode. It contains. It chooses. The Stoics weren't asking you to feel less. They were urging you to see more clearly. To pause, not because you're passive, but because you're present. To respond, not to suppress, but to rise above the trigger and act with principle. When you slow down and notice the space between stimulus and action, that's when reason returns. That's when you remember who's really driving. And that quiet reclaiming, that's not weakness, that's mastery. Negative thinking rarely arrives with a warning. It enters quietly disguised as realism, masked as maturity. You tell yourself, I'm just being practical. But beneath the surface, you're rehearsing a future shaped by fear. Not vision. You miss a call, and your mind whispers, they're ignoring you. You share an idea, and it mutters, that was stupid. You feel a pause in a conversation, and suddenly, they don't like you. None of this is truth. It's old programming scripts etched into your inner walls so familiar they feel like fact. But as Marcus Aurelius warned, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you think in shadows long enough, even the sunlight begins to look suspicious. Carl Jung added, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This isn't just philosophy. It's your daily reality. Your brain is not designed for truth. It's designed for survival. But Stoicism asks us to go further, to step back, to hold each thought up to the light and ask, is this useful? Is it true? Or is it just old noise echoing from a place I no longer live? You are not your fears. You are the one observing them. Procrastination wears a soft voice. It doesn't scream, it soothes. It tells you, not now. Later will be better. You'll be ready tomorrow. And like a lullaby, we believe it again and again, rocked gently into stagnation. But tomorrow is a myth dressed in comfort. The future is always the safest place to store our potential because it doesn't demand anything yet. That's the trap. Delay feels safe because it postpones risk. But what it really postpones is becoming. Marcus Aurelius, nearly 2,000 years ago, cut through this illusion with one sentence. You could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow. Every time we wait to start, we strengthen the version of ourselves that avoids discomfort, that clings to ease, that accepts inaction as identity. Carl Jung once said, Procrastination is not just the thief of time, it's the thief of self. The Stoics were unapologetically clear. Time is not an inheritance, it's a loan. Every moment you're given is a moment slipping away, whether you choose to spend it or not. So the question isn't whether you're ready. The question is, how much more of your life are you willing to delay? Just because you're reachable doesn't mean you should always be reached. In the age of constant connection, presence has become a rare luxury sacrificed one notification at a time. You answer quickly to prove you care. You stay online to be seen as committed. But behind that performative availability is a slow erosion of boundaries. Every yes to others becomes a quiet no to yourself. Marcus Aurelius offered a simple remedy. If you seek tranquility, do less. But in this age, doing less often means being less accessible, not less responsible. It's the radical act of not letting the world dictate your response time. Carl Jung once wrote, "Solitude is where one discovers one is not alone." Solitude is not withdrawal, it's return. Return to your inner rhythm, your own pace, your own voice. You don't owe instant access to anyone. Not every ping is urgent. Not every request is worthy of your mental bandwidth. You are not a switchboard. You are a soul with limits. And your peace depends on honoring them. Protecting your mind is not selfish. It's wise. Because in a world that profits from your constant attention, silence becomes an act of defiance. The world glorifies speed. The faster you move, the more serious you seem. The more you chase, the more alive you appear. But beneath the surface of that momentum is often a terrifying truth. We're moving quickly, with no idea where we're going. Busyness is praised like a virtue, but pace without purpose is just disguised panic. You fill your calendar, but not your soul. You check off tasks, but never check in with yourself. Carl Jung once wrote, "Hurry is not of the devil. It is the devil." Because hurry isn't just a habit, it becomes a way of being. A mindset that says stillness is laziness, that rest is failure. But it isn't. Stillness is where vision sharpens. It's where direction returns. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius led armies not in haste, but in intention. Seneca reminded us, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." When every day feels urgent, you lose your grip on what truly matters. Hustle without clarity turns you into a runner with no finish line, exhausted, but nowhere closer to peace. So, slow down. Not to escape, but to see. Not to stop, but to align. There's a peculiar habit we humans carry. We treat pain like a badge, like proof that we were wronged, proof that it mattered. But what begins as a scar of survival slowly becomes a weight we choose to keep holding long after the wound has closed. Anger often feels like power. But the truth, most of the time, it's a mask for pain we're too afraid to name. It's easier to stay angry than to admit we're still hurt. Marcus Aurelius offered a higher road. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice. In other words, let what was done to you end with you. Don't become the echo of their action. Carl Jung observed, "What you resist persists." and Aristotle believed that anyone can be angry, but being angry at the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, that is rare. Forgiveness isn't surrender. It's sovereignty. It doesn't say what you did was fine. It says what you did no longer defines me. The one who hurt you may have long forgotten, but if you're still carrying the memory like a burning coal, you're the one getting scorched. Let it go. Not for their sake, but for the space you'll reclaim in your soul. Some people walk into a room and the air changes not because they speak loudly, but because they drain you quietly. It's not always what they do, but how you feel afterward, scattered, heavy, unsure of yourself. We often keep these people close, not out of alignment, but out of habit. We confuse history with compatibility, politeness with loyalty, and in doing so, we forget something sacred. Your energy is not a public resource. It's a limited offering, and not everyone has earned the right to draw from it. Seneca once advised associate with those who will make a better man of you, not those who demand your attention, but those who elevate your character. That's a different kind of closeness, one that enriches rather than empties. Carl Jung likened human connection to chemistry. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. The question is into what Plato taught, that the soul is shaped by the company it keeps. If those around you stoke anxiety, doubt, or bitterness, your inner world slowly mirrors theirs. Protecting your energy is not withdrawal, it's discernment. Audit your circle, not with guilt, but with reverence. Your peace is sacred. Guard it like your future depends on it, because it does. It's rarely the storms that undo us. It's the subtle leaks, the unnoticed, unchallenged patterns that become the architecture of our days. The silent habits, the quiet compromises, the small surrenders that slowly shape a life that no longer feels like our own. These 9 habits don't shout, they whisper. But over time, their weight adds up. They blur your vision, sap your energy, and chip away at the quiet confidence you once carried without question. Until one day, you wake up, not broken, but diluted. A smaller version of who you could be. But here's the truth. The Stoics knew well. Transformation isn't loud. It doesn't always begin with a crisis. Sometimes, it starts with something as simple as awareness. So, ask yourself not to judge, but to notice. Which of these habits has been quietly steering my life? And more importantly, what small act today would begin to reclaim the path? Because you don't need to rebuild your entire life in one grand gesture. You only need to turn the wheel one honest degree at a time. You don't need a manifesto to begin. You don't need to post your growth, prove your calm, or explain your change. Real transformation is quiet. It speaks through the way you move, how you respond, and what you no longer chase. Start small. One act. Fold the shirt instead of tossing it. Close the screen and sit in stillness for a moment. Breathe before the reply. Pause before the scroll. Choose presence over performance. Peace doesn't beg to be seen. Strength doesn't seek applause. The Stoics didn't strive to win arguments. They aimed to win themselves. Virtue to them wasn't a speech. It was a posture, a way of walking through the world with depth. So let the world wonder What changed? Let your stillness speak louder than your explanations. Let your choices, not your claims, tell the story. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You owe your life an embodiment.